I have dreams. You have dreams. I have goals. You have goals. When you go around and you ask around what people are hoping for this year, you will realize that we've got that in common for the most part. We all have goals. We all have plans. But what stops us now from not, when we get to the end of the year, coming together with as much energy as we do to announce them, to report back on how the year has gone or how we have done in respect to the goals and the plans that we had set? There must be a whole lot that happens during the year that either enables us to achieve the goals or to fail at them. So I'd like to thank you for joining us today. We are starting the Personal Goals series, and the idea here is basically to sit down and have a chat. Over and above it being a formal or informal presentation, the idea is so that you can be able to, after today, or even after the other episodes that will have come through in the respective weeks, to just look at that and see how it applies in your life, where there are things that you did not yet know or things that you knew that you had not yet implemented. Then you can go as well and implement. And if you've got things furthermore to share, please go through to the comments and share on there, just like people did in the very first episode. We are very grateful, of course. It was such a positive response. People commenting in terms of some of the things that they did like, where they feel there's improvement needed, and such things. And like a child growing up and starting out and learning how to work, we appreciate that type of feedback because it helps us keep you here. Over and above you seeing things that you don't like and walking away, and someone else coming again and seeing the very same things and also walking away. When you see the things that you don't like, you say, so that when the next person comes through, at least they get a chance to stay on a cleaner slate. So thank you very much. We appreciate all the feedback that we have gotten, and even some of the questions were along the lines of, where is the Ezile of Bongezile? She's coming. She's coming. She signed up for a few of these episodes that we're going to be doing once we are done with this Personal Goals series. So with that, I would like to say that Bongezile will be complete. So welcome to the nest. Today we had spoken about it in the first episode in terms of what we are looking to do. It's basically two-parted. The last part is basically where I will be introducing to you what sort of goals do I have, how I've put them, and how I can best put them, one, and what I think I will need to do to ensure that they are achieved come December. But the first part is probably the most important of what we're going to do today. It's basically chatting through the whole idea around personal goals. Like, why is everybody so hyped up about personal goals? I mean, can't I just go through life and then take things as they come? There's certain things that people normally say sometimes that, no, I have not set up any expectation. I don't want to be disappointed. So what is stopping people from doing that? All of us, in fact, from doing that. So we want to be talking about that today. Pastor Pilani shared a post that I really felt resonated with what we want to talk about today. He was basically saying something to the effect of, when you start a year and you do not have any goals, like someone who is getting into an elevator and they're not knowing where they're going, or just hoping that the elevator is going to open up on the floor where they're actually going without doing anything about it. That's even if they know where they're going in the first place. So it pretty much exposes what personal goals are all about. It's a future plan of where you'd like to be. It's a future position with the things that you would have liked to have attained by then. It can be things that relate to how you want to improve your physical body, one. It can be things around how you want to improve your intellect, maybe through studies, maybe through coaching. It may be things around what sits even further deep, just relationships, be it from the family that you are from, dealing with the siblings that you have, dealing with your parents, your extended family. It can also be about romantic relationships. Maybe someone's goal or plan this year is to get married. So that becomes a goal now and something that you need to work towards. But more often than not, when we define goals just as I've done now, with the end point. Which is good, of course, because we know where we want to go. But over and above that, personal goals need to be described, because that description also calls some form of action. They need to be described in a manner that exposes what you are going to do about them. So allow me today, I've got my notebook here, which my wife blessed me with. I'm using the term blessed because everything that she does is a blessing for me and I do not take for granted. Hope one day can be able to replicate it and she will know where that one comes from. But over and above that, I am trying to be an even better husband. But it's an everyday journey, right? Okay. So if we are to define personal goals even a little bit deeper than I have done there at the start, it's basically to say personal goals or goals are a combination of effective systems that have been put in place together with the character of the individual. So within that, there are about 4 key words that we've used. It's effective, it's systems, it's the character, and it's the individual. You might say perhaps we are duplicating on some parts there, but you will realize that actually they apply to different things. Firstly, there is a whole part of effective. Effectiveness, when it comes to the personal goals that we want to be looking at from today, is basically dealing with, without having been engaged in that particular action, is it understood generally, or even by you only, but is there an understanding that it gives the set of results that you desire? Because it's not enough to have systems in place, but if the systems are not effective, then it leads to goals that are not met, or you end up achieving certain things that you did not plan, and you think you are so good at planning, whereas the systems that you had put in place were driving you towards a different goal than the one you had in mind. Perhaps I've gone ahead of myself in terms of the systems part, because that also needs to be explained. When we speak of systems, what are we speaking about? When we're speaking about systems, we are basically speaking about the work behind the scenes, call it. It basically speaks to the planning that goes in from the time that you say you want this particular thing at this particular time. So what happens in between there is a whole lot of things, from the habits that you need to cultivate, from the amount of support that you need and where to find it from, for the amount of skilling that you need to do, whether upskilling or removing certain things that you are doing in order for you to be able to achieve the goals or the goal that you have set. So if you think about that, a system is much more important than the end goal. Hence my point at the start, where I was basically trying to say we need to define our goals by what we are going to do to get there. So that enables us, it sensitizes us as well to the amount of work that we need to do. Because there are certain people, like I mentioned at the start, who will start the year and be like, oh, 2020 was such a disappointment for me. What is the whole point of me going through planning again if I am opening myself up to more disappointment? As tough and as much as I am trying to understand that kind of thinking, and I know where it comes through, to a large extent for that matter, I've had my own disappointments. But when you're starting a year with that type of an attitude, more often than not, what you will find out is that this person who says they don't want to set up expectations, they mean they've got things that they would like to achieve, but they don't want to go into the detail of finding out what they need to do to achieve them. in case that what they end up doing does not achieve that. Human beings are a hopeful people, or a hopeful species. I don't know how to put that part, but basically we function on hope. And once that hope disappears, there's nothing to live for. There's nothing to wake up for. So that hope is always there. It's just that sometimes we avoid it. We avoid the work that we need to do to get to the actualization of that hope. So it's just another, I suppose, call it a wake-up call or an alert or a reminder to say there's nobody, even in a state of depression, might I say, where you are at a point where you are not seeing so much clarity in terms of how your life must pan out. Everything seems so gray. There is a hope within your heart. There is a hope within you. It's clouded at that time, but there is a hope within you. The fact that you are still breathing, that speaks of a willingness. As much as you've been breathing all your life, does not necessarily mean that it's something that is happening outside your control. There is a certain willingness in you to want to live one more hour, one more day, even though the message to your head may be saying, I want to end it now. So personal goals are for everybody. They are for the person who is coming out of high school and about to get into tertiary. They are for the person who applied to tertiary and did not get accepted. They are for the person who is busy at tertiary and struggling through courses or even wondering how they're going to make it to the end. They are for the person who's coming out of tertiary, getting into work, setting up their life, looking at what they need to put in place. They are for the person who's been at work for quite some time, for the person who's starting out their work, their family, the person who have, people who are having kids, people who are taking kids to school, people who need to manage their own work life, their own personal life away from the kids. So there's a whole lot of things that go into personal goals. And I'm hoping that this series will be something that heightens something within you to say, I cannot go through the year just fumbling through the dark, even if you are doing that to protect yourself. It's not the way to go about it. It's very defeatist. You're starting the year from a position of accepting defeat already. And within you, there is a hope that needs you to put in certain actions. Sometimes the actions are only dependent on you, but sometimes the actions are dependent on other people. So we're speaking about effective systems, and now there's the character part. Systems are like the work, the environment that you need to create, but the character of the individual now is one that ensures that these systems are not just sitting there by themselves. You have made a target, or rather you've set a target. You now need to make certain commitments to ensure that you reach your target. And that character is basically what keeps you going. It's basically what holds you true to the goal that you have set. It's basically that integrity in its varying stages or varying degrees as you may have, but it's basically speaking to you. And the individual part of it there that I wanted to bring in is more tying in with the fact that sometimes we set goals when we're looking at other people, what our friends may be looking to achieve, what our family expects us to achieve. But I want to tell you today that if you are to be successful in achieving your personal goals, they need to be individualized. They need to be about you. You need to find your place in them, even if they are a corporate or a much bigger type of a plan. Because if you do not find that plan for you, that applies to you specifically, you will go where people are going. You will do the things that people are doing. You will go to the places where people are going without fully understanding why you are going there. And when it comes for you to perform, sometimes you will even abdicate your position because you feel like other people can do it other than you. And we both know that we all have our own assignments. And for the actualization of all our assignments, there are certain works that we need to do on an hourly basis, on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, and certainly on an annual basis, like we are speaking about now, setting personal goals for 2021. How people go about setting personal goals, other people go through what they will, like towards the end of the year, they will set up what they want to do in the ensuing year. By October, by November, there you already have an idea. You're already following up on the things that you have done for this year and whether you'll be able to finish them by the end of the year. And where some can be moved, you are moving those to the next year, that kind of a thinking. And then there are people who, when the year starts, that's when they also plan. And then there are people who come through when February, March comes through there, because January somehow still feels like December, you're still at home, you're not back at work, all those kind of things. Regardless of when you start, I can tell you there's going to be something of value that you will find within these episodes that we have put together for this series. And I thank you for having come through as well. I spoke about systems being the habits that you put in place. By habits, it's basically the things that you repetitively do. It's the things that at some point they end up coming as second nature. It's habit, it's something that you do frequently as well. That's speaking to systems. For instance, let's take the most common, or at least the one that I recognize as the most common goal that people will set, particularly people of the other gender. We love you. They will say, I want to lose weight. So if you're in that category of people who want to lose weight, there are certain habits that you will need to put in place. And they go beyond just getting on the road and running. They take into account what you eat, how many times you eat, how much you eat. So it's many other things. Your emotional state is not your weight gain is not independent from your emotional state. So all those kind of things, that's a system that you need to look after now, that you need to build if it is not there, to ensure that weight loss is easier. And the other thing as well concerning personal goals is that they need to be motivated, but they are not motivated by feeling. They are not validated by the desire alone. They are validated by the work that you put in. When I say desire, sometimes you set up goals. I'll say I want to study and pass CFA, like I am writing this year, sometime in May. The idea there is not in the desire alone. If all I'm going to do up until May is just desire to pass CFA, then I can already see what the result I will get a very big fail. Why? Because I've got the desire, but I have not acted on the desire. I've got the feeling of wanting to pass, but I've not acted on it. So it is not enough to have the feeling. It is not enough to just have the desire. I need to put in the work. That speaks to the systems now. And the other part as well is that both the systems and the character, they speak to process. They speak to the work that happens, not necessarily to what is the end goal, but the day-to-day type of work. And once that is in place, results will flow from that. It's like when you want a peach tree, and you go and find ground that peach trees can grow on. You find the seeds, you find all the works that you need to put in place. You get the tools, and you plant, and you water if you need to water, up until it's strong enough to stand on its own and get its own nutrients. That kind of work. That person should not be surprised when after the set amount of time that the peach tree needs to grow, it grows up and gives them the results, which is the peach tree and the peaches from the tree. So to say, I want a peach tree, and you go about and you find banana seeds, and then you plant them in a place where only apples can grow, and your focus is what you want at the end, then you're not going to get it, because the end goal and the process do not speak to one another. So that's some of the things that we wanted to touch on. There's many types of personal goals that people set. People will set, like I've mentioned, losing weight, saving money. I think that's another common one. For some reason, it's one of those things that we want to do, but we just never get to do. And I'm saying we, for a reason there. Some people may want to start up a particular sport. Some people may even just want to keep fit outside a particular sport. Some people want to read books. There are things much deeper than these, of course, that perhaps may relate to relationships, where people want to get to a certain state of a relationship, like I do with God on my side. I suppose I'm getting into what I wanted to go in at the end now. That's some of the things that we want to be speaking about during this time. And the other thing that we've already touched on, but I feel like it needs more emphasis, is that personal goals are not governed by desire and feeling. Like I would like to have you disassociate that altogether from the process of personal goals and achieving them. Because sometimes you even wake up and you do not want to do any such thing that allows you to get to the end of those personal goals achieved. For that matter, all you want to do is sleep in bed the whole day, the whole weekend, the whole week. That is a desire, that is a feeling. But if you give in to that now, you are compromising your own ability. You are setting yourself up to fail. You are setting your failures. We spoke about that last week. So the idea there is basically to ensure that your personal goals are like a blueprint that sits there and it's painted and it's final. You can adjust or as well, of course, as time goes on, but at any one point, look at it as if it's final in terms of what you need to do for that year. And now you are basically a slave to that plan. It sounds very aggressive, I know. But if you're going to be opening up yourself to the idea that, oh, I'll do it when I feel like it, then you'll get to December and you will have only felt like doing it 12 times. And you'll be disappointed when other people are busy brandishing what they have achieved. I'm not talking about things that people have bought, but just the state that they will be in, because you will have sacrificed and compromised your ability to do that. So that is one other thing that we wanted to touch on. And the other part of it is that sometimes you may even need mentors. Now I'm speaking mentors. The moment you mention mentors, people think, oh, I need to find someone experienced within the space that I'm in. Not really. We live in a very digital type of space now, an age that we're in. You go on YouTube, you look for videos that speak to the things that you want to do. And you get to hear other people's stories. That's why I love biographies sometimes, because they give you the inside story that you do not get to see on TV. So that's one other thing that you perhaps may need to pursue there. And the other part that I said I would like to share today, we will come and close it again with these personal goals that we're speaking about. But the other part that I wanted to share was basically around what my goals are for this year. I've already touched on some of these things at that first episode. One of them is basically to have a settled relationship with God. When I speak of settled, I'm speaking from the experience where maybe in January you'll have a very good experience in your relationship with God, because maybe you're coming out of the fasting, you are still super motivated. So the graph is going like this till the end of January. And then you get paid, the graph even goes higher. And then from there it just gradually decreases. And then you have encounters with people where you feel like, yo, now you and God are like best friends. And then next week it's down like that. So those are the things that I feel like my Christian life has been going through, which I would like to not just avoid, but to gain some form of control over them. So that's one of the things that I want to do for this year, a settled relationship. And the key there is basically settled. The way I've described it now is basically a settled relationship with God. But how can I best phrase that in a way that sensitizes me to the work that I need to do. I've put it down this way. It says, I will better manage my emotional expectations and responses to my life's events as it pertains to God by studying and learning to manage my emotional state and reactions to the very same life events. You see, now that one kind of gives me much more. It tells me what I need to do. I need to study. How do I respond when I don't have money? How do I respond to stress? How do I respond to things that normally will stifle and drive me up the wall, as we sometimes say? So once you sensitize yourself to such things, it becomes easier to pick up when it's about to happen, because you know that this is the process, this is the build up to me being stressed for the whole week, to me not speaking to people for like 2 months, those kind of things, you see. So I am sensitizing myself to the work that I need to do. I need to study myself. That means I need to get to know myself. Because more often than not, there is that confusion within me. I'm not sure about you, but that kind of confusion is too strong, but it's more along that misunderstanding, perhaps, of what God is supposed to do and what I am supposed to do. And as a result, when I don't know, I just put everything to God. Like, God, I've prayed, bring it. Come November, I want it on my platter, Lord. Just come and bring it. But more often than not, that's not the story. The story is, how are you waiting? And the waiting is not sitting on a chair like I'm sitting. It's doing the work. It's basically the systems that enable even the prophetic. And someone just comes, don't you all sometimes just desire that? When you rock up at a place and someone just goes, I hear the voice of the Lord. And he says, you will be successful. You will have so much money. You will not know what to do with it. Those kind of things. I sometimes want that too, because it makes it so easy. But even that kind of work sometimes, that kind of word rather, it requires work. You need to align yourself to that word that has been given. You see, if the word says you will be this, you will get this, but all your actions and your plans and your intentions are that, there's no alignment there. For that matter, the prophecies are the ones that require the most work, because people expect them to just happen. And that's not the story, but we're not talking about prophecies today. The other goal that I've got is basically the first phrasing that we're going to speak through says to develop financial discipline. Now, if you're sitting there and you're thinking, oh, that is so generalistic or general, it can mean anything. How do I phrase it better in a way that sensitizes me to the action that I need to take? I will develop a consistent savings culture with specific end targets that are outside my own accounts and spend within my means. I'm saying things there that you may not have context to. I'm the kind of person who will be saving. I've got this particular idea that I want to do, but even when I started out, there's a general feel about it. So I put money away for a number of months, and then come that time, something else pops up, and I just take it and I go put it there, without thinking as much about what I wanted to do in the first place, because it was very general. And the idea as well is that I've got control, I've got access to it, so it's easier to just go. So that's why I say I want to put it outside my own accounts. That may mean I need to give it to my wife. And I know that when my wife locks the key, she's locked the key up. Believe it. And the other part is around, in terms of cultivating that discipline, is around spending within my means. I'm not sure whether this will not come back to haunt me one day, but I love spending money. I enjoy spending money. Oh, I enjoy spending money. It's got that thing that says, yes, you've got power, go get it. But more often than not, when you spend money, you just spend, and then you wake up at some point, the money to be spent is gone. So that's one of the things, and it's something that works against that savings culture, that discipline around your finances altogether. that I believe is, or not just believe, is something that I've set, is something that I want to do. So that is another way that sensitizes me to the action that I need to do. And all this, there's a number of them. I've written about 11 of them down. And you may say that's too many, but sometimes our Bishop Chalo, he normally speaks of 5 areas of your life that you need to have covered. So I've got some of these goals that relate to the relationship element, that's speaking to like emotions, the emotional and the relational type of space. You've got physical, that is me taking up swimming, basically learning to do a particular skill with my body. You've got financial, I've spoken about one of them. There's a number of them. We just moved into a new place, my friend. That's why. And then the other one, it needs to do with the spiritual element. That's when I spoke about a settled relationship with God, and not have this, oh, one day I love you, God, one day, oh God, you ask me for too much. Those kind of things. And then there's also some studying that I need to do, which is now basically that CFA exam that I've spoken about. And that's the end goal. But now I need to put in place a system that will enable me to get to the end of May, or even when the results come out, whenever it is, July, August, to be able to attain the level that I want to attain. So that's speaking to that now. And with that, I won't go into all of them. There's quite a lot. I've already touched on the plant-based diet that I want to do as well. In the second half of the year, it's basically just training my body to obey me. I know to someone else it may seem like I'm starving myself, or I've gone crazy. Why am I trying things that I know that I'm not going to stick with? For me, it's more about training my body to know that I can tell it what to do. That's where it comes from. And of course, I need to eat. Plus, it's healthy to eat your vegetables. That's why kids hate them. Kids hate anything that's good. But anyway, we're not there. Let's leave that. So now, if I just set up that goal, these goals, and I just have all these end targets, but I've done nothing about what I need to do, not just what I need to do. Throughout that time, I need to know what I'm going to do on a daily basis. How much study time am I going to give myself? How much work time? How much me time? How much family time? How much my wife's time? Those two things are very different. There's family, I know it's just the two of us. There's the family part of my relationship with my wife, and then there is her time, my wife's time within that whole space. So there's a whole lot of things that I need to put in place to ensure that come that end of the year, I have attained, I can tick on these boxes with much more happiness. And the other thing that John C. Maxwell said as well was that you need to say it outward. That's how you're putting it on YouTube. You need to say it outward, because when you say that, you are committing yourself, even though there's no paper here to be signed. I know sometimes we're like, yo, particularly those of us who grew up in villages, we'll be like, yo, I don't want them to know. What if they bewitch my plans and all that? Hey, man. You see, we are confining ourselves underneath a certain bowl. Yes, we put the light, but also put a bowl underneath that light. It's shining for nobody. And we give so much power, as we often hear from our bishop too. We give so much power to all the negative forces around our lives by basically staying away from making known. By doing that, you are also taking away that commitment that you need to put in. Because now that I've said that I want to learn how to swim, I'm expecting my friend to be asking me, so what are you doing about it? When are you going to start? Those kind of conversations, basically, even if we're just sitting around, it will come out. Oh, by the way, you said you want to learn how to study. You're not to study, meant to swim. So it's that kind of thing. And the way that I phrase the swimming one, by the way, is basically to say, I will buy swimming lessons from Swimmetrics over weekends to aid with learning how to swim. And I need this to have this done by September 2021. And I know this is my goal and my wife's goal as well. Don't ask me why we don't know how to swim. I think there's a whole lot of explanation here that you need for that. But let's not go into that. So basically, what we wanted to speak about today is the fact that it's not enough to have a personal goal. You need to design, and that is your responsibility as the person who wants to benefit from the goal that you've set. You need to design. Suppose now this is called a summary. You need to design a system that will enable you to achieve the personal goals that you've set. You need to build up habits. Sometimes there may be new habits. And for new habits that you need to build, that means if there are certain habits that you need to dig out of your space, because you have a limited amount of time, right? 24 hours is 24 hours for everybody. And you cannot just keep fitting things into 24 hours. At some point, stuff will start popping out, where stuff that was due on Monday is still due the following Monday. Why? Because there's so much that you fit into your 24 hours. Sometimes the stuff that you fit is relaxing time. 2020 cannot be talking about people not relaxing. People need to relax. Sometimes we overvalue the whole idea of relaxing. Because what do we do when we're relaxing? We pull out Netflix, we pull out DSTV or whatever it may be that we spend our time and we let our mind wander to nowhere, doing nothing, just consuming content that does not feed us in any way. There is a certain type of rest that we need to take up as well. It is doing things that build me, that build you as a person. That is a form of rest, because it is not the way you go about doing it. It is not like with a rod and you're busy hitting yourself. It's basically you are taking yourself gently through a process of self-improvement. And with that, that is another form of rest that ensures that by the time you are done with it, as much as it can come across as work, but it's got a resting element in that it refreshes your mind, it refreshes your soul, because you are doing something that is good for you. Yes, so thank you very much for coming on board. There's something that we would like you to do, of course, which is basically to subscribe to the channel. Would like you to hit that button there as well, so that you are able to pick up when we're posting out some new content as well. And also this past week we posted an express notice order. I like this word because it means nothing, but it means everything for the purposes of this channel. It was basically speaking about what are your fears. So if you have not already had a look at it, please, it's about 5 minutes or so. It's basically seeking you to ask yourself, what are the things that stand in your way? It's not enough sometimes to just take it all before God, because we expect prayer to work magic sometimes and we run away from the work that we need to do. So please check it out. Thank you very much, and may you have a very blessed week, a good week, a productive week, however you want to call it, depending on which sector you're part of. A cool week. I don't know what Mama 2000 choose, but find a term for that applies to you, but have that kind of week. A week that is not just filled with Sabawella's SPWLs, but that is filled with things that you are doing actually. Looking forward to someone saying, Sabawela set up a system. I mean, I desire to put the work in place to ensure that my goals are achieved. So thank you very much for your time. We truly appreciate it. We know that there's so many other things that you could be doing, but you've chosen to give it to us. And by the time this episode ends, it's probably going to be around an hour or so there. And the idea there is that you've given us an hour of your life already that you cannot get back. But we are hoping that in exchange for that hour, that we have picked out some things that you can still implement in your life to ensure that the time that you still do have is much more valuable than the hour that you have given. So thank you very much. Thank you.